Hello friends and welcome to another Star Wars video. This is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today I want to talk about the latest news that I heard this last weekend, and that is Jabba the Hutt may be getting his own spin-off. Now this is just a crazy thing, and while it has potential, while it could be a good movie, it would clearly be a mobster movie. It would clearly follow, hopefully, the Godfather of films. It would be Jabba's role in the disaster in the Star Wars universe. I've thought about different genres that this movie could be, and I think that depending on the type of genre that we could see, or the type of genre that they choose to go with, could really obviously change the feel or the emotion of the movie. And what I've done is I've come up with 7 different types of movies that Jabba the Hutt could be made into that would completely ruin the Star Wars universe. And with that, let's dive right into them. Now the first is probably one of my favorite, and I just call this is in the realm of nature videos. I call it Gestation, and what it would do, it would show the life cycle of a Hutt, and it would walk you through birth, or the time period. It'd walk you through pre-birth, so the actual gestation of a slug. I don't know what you would call it, but it would walk you through each stage pre-birth. Then once it hatches, I'm not entirely sure how a Hutt is born, hence why this movie could be very beneficial. Just like all great nature movies, this would be a great movie only if we had a fantastic voice actor to narrate the film. And what would be wonderful is, and a great way to tie in the other potential spin-off that we're going to be getting, is using the voice of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and instead of really talking about the gestation or the life cycle of a Hutt, talking about his interactions with Hutts, and just kind of like this rambling old man type story about Hutts, showing Hutts in the wild, in nature. I think that would be a lot of fun, and it would be one of those movies that I would hate myself for, but I would totally go see. It just sounds awesome and terrible at the same time. Number 6 on our list is kind of the cheap, lazy way to go about it. It is actually a shot-for-shot remake of the movie Tremors, with Jabba the Hutt replacing the monster in the film. Now imagine a circa 1980s Kevin Bacon with a circa 1980s like Reba McEntire, because I'm pretty sure she was in that first one. I know that not all redheaded people or not all redheaded women are Reba McEntire, but I'm fairly confident that this one is. But just imagine that, but every time the monster comes out, you see Jabba the Hutt poking his head out. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be hilarious and just fun. I would totally pay to see that. If there's a fan out there who's good with video editing, you now have a challenge. You now have responsibility. Make that movie. The world needs to see that movie. It's just important for all of us to have. The 5th movie actually is in the vein of the 5th movie is actually in the vein of Driver and Days of Thunder, and to a lesser extent Talladega Nights, because all Star Wars movies need to have some comedy in them, and it would revolve around how Jabba became the ringmaster, or the centerpiece of the pod racing scene in Phantom Menace. So it would be a prequel to the prequels of... Yeah. So what it would do is it would show Jabba the Hutt kind of getting in over his head, making a gambling debt that, you know, he probably can't win. Then he needs to put together just a Spitfire crew of pod racers. Maybe this is where we see the Doug show up for the first time. Maybe he uses little Anakin and he makes a cameo. Who knows? Maybe Smee was the first pod racer, and really she lied about giving virgin birth to Anakin, and Anakin is really some space jockeys or pod racer kind of a thing. Maybe Anakin is the son of some pod racer that Smee didn't really want to talk about. That would make more sense than, the Force got me pregnant. Definitely easier to explain. You have a deadbeat pod racing father who doesn't want you around. Just saying. But the story would revolve around them putting the team together and racing in the Boonta Eve pod race and ultimately winning, which then puts Jabba whatever, right? So I totally gave it away. My apologies. But that just seems like it'd be a pretty fun movie, to be honest. It really would. I mean, if you like pod racing, if you like speed movies or racing movies, because let's face it, not many of us like pod racing. The fourth film on our list, the closer to the top, I've struggled with coming up with a name for this. The story fits though, right? Jabba is sentient, and Hutts need love too, right? And so this would be a Beauty and the Beast type story. But looking at how Jabba has treated a lot of his female cohorts or female ladies in his palace, we kind of have a Beauty and the Beast type story mixed with 50 Shades of Grey. I don't want to dive too much into this because I'm afraid that YouTube's going to smack me for it. But we kind of know where that's going, right? Creepy, a little disturbing. I wonder who would go see that type of movie. But hey, there's an audience for everything. And maybe this wouldn't hit big blockbuster films or big blockbuster... probably wouldn't have a wide release. But it could. 50 Shades of Grey, people love that for some reason. I'm not dissing those. Not judgment here. If you like the movie, great. But I'm calling it 50 Shades of Hutt. 50 Shades Slimier. I got nothing. Leave a comment in the list below if you can come up with a better title. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, number 3 on our list is a buddy cop film. It involves Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett kind of cleaning up some scum from and in and around the world of Tatooine, probably focusing mostly on Mos Eisley. And since, Boba Fett and Jabba are both underworld creatures themselves, it would be more of they're getting rid of corporate scum, right? And this could be one of those anti-capitalist movies where they go around getting rid of the big corporations, the Zerkas and the Kuwak drive yards and all that other crap, right? But it would be an interesting film, and my thought is Jabba would be the comic relief, whereas Boba Fett would be the serious, no nonsense, I'm too old for this type thing. They have a back and forth. They're put together by, the Bounty Hunters Guild. Let's say that's reintroduced into the canon. That would be fun. It would be cool to see the Bounty Hunters Guild reintroduced, and it would be sweet to have that kind of back and forth. I think that would be a lot of fun. Number 2 on our list, I like to call it Slug the Yard, or again, working titles here. Not entirely sure how to name these here. But essentially, we know that Jabba loves dancers. We know that he loves dancing. And my thought is, Jabba wanted to be a dancer. It was always in his heart to be a dancer. And maybe his Hutt daddy was like, no, you can't be a dancer in my house. Get out on the street with that. And he meets a Twi'lek who, obviously, Twi'leks are really good at dancing. It's notorious for dancing. They're often made dancing slaves. We see a dancing Twi'lek slave in Jabba's palace. what happens is they go back, they fall in love, they have their own crew, and they start challenging local dance crews around Tatooine for street cred, right? And this is how Jabba first gets his street cred, through a dancing competition. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's probably not possible. But even Hutts have dreams, right? Even Hutts have desires. And you know, if dancing is one of those, Jabba, you go for it, man. You dance your little fat body off, and no shame, Jabba. Go for the gold, or whatever they reward people with on Tatooine. Maybe like droids or something. I don't know. The last movie on our list is a heartwarming movie, and it is in the vein of Homeward Bound and Homeward Bound 2 and every other movie that's like Homeward Bound, where an animal is lost and the owner searches frantically for it and nothing happens, right? And they're heart-wrenching, they're sad, and there's nothing they can do. And then on the other side, you have this animal who crosses oceans and deserts and has this long journey to get back to their master, and finally they do. Now, what I see this happening is Jabba takes his pleasure barge out on the desert of Tatooine and loses his little monkey lizard, Salacious Crumb. And Salacious Crumb has to fight Jawas and droids and sand creatures, and ultimately he has to overcome the Sarlacc pit. And finally, off in the distance, in the final shot of the movie, there's Jabba the Hutt, and it's one of those like long distant shots, and the two suns are up in the sky, and Jabba's over here, and Salacious Crumb is over here, and there's a close up on Jabba's face and a close up on Salacious Crumb's face, and they see each other, and across the desert Jabba moves very slowly, but then Salacious Crumb comes running up and jumps into the arms of his loving master. I think that would be one of those movies that I think we need to see. Whether it's Jabba and Salacious Crumb, or a Jedi and their lost droid, or a Sith and power, I don't know. But I think people could get behind that, right? It would definitely reach a new audience, and I think a lot of people could start to relate to Star Wars in a totally new way. Now, clearly I'm joking about all of these. These 7 movies should never be made, or probably never will be made. I would be absolutely shocked. Obviously, if they do go with the Jabba the Hutt movie, they could go any number of different ways with it. Jabba the Hutt had interactions with the Jedi during the Clone Wars. Jabba had connections with Vader afterwards. Obviously, that kind of connected through the Clone Wars. He did die in A New Hope, or he did die in Return of the Jedi. Maybe the Jabba the Hutt movie is he didn't die. I mean, really, Leia had to strangle him really hard. I mean, those chains were tough. I mean, I get that, but could she really be able to kill a slug that thick? I mean, she'd have to go through layers and layers of fat and skin, and I just don't know. I don't know. But what do you think about this news that they may be making a Jabba the Hutt movie? Leave a comment in the section below. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think the best movie or the worst possible movie they could make about Jabba the Hutt would be in the section below. Share this video. Like us. Subscribe to our channel. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy. And as always, my friends, stay nerdy.